All right, today we're going to dive into a smarter, way more reliable method for pumping water when you're completely off-grid. We're talking about a system that gets rid of the single biggest headache for anyone living or working in a remote spot.
So if you're dealing with water in a remote location, you already know the struggle, right? It's not just about getting the water, it's that constant battle with equipment that feels like it's always one step away from breaking down.
For the longest time, it felt like you were stuck between two pretty frustrating options. On one hand, you could have a diesel generator, which means constantly hauling fuel, dealing with the noise, the fumes, and just endless maintenance. Or, on the other hand, you go with a solar setup, but the batteries die every couple of years, costing a fortune to replace and creating all this hazardous waste. Either way, it's a constant drain on your wallet and your time.
But what if you could just eliminate the single weakest and most expensive part of that whole chain? Well, that's exactly the idea we're going to explore today.
It's called direct drive solar pumping. And the concept is actually beautifully simple. You've got your solar panels connected directly to the pump, but they go through a smart controller first. There's no battery bank in the middle. It's as simple as this. When the sun shines, you're pumping water. It's that direct. And this whole system works because of one simple but really powerful philosophy. Instead of trying to store unpredictable electricity in a fragile, expensive battery, you store what you actually need: water. You just use the sun's free energy during the day to fill up a big tank.
I mean, let's just compare them head to head. A battery is a high-maintenance headache with a super short lifespan. A water tank? It's cheap, it'll last you 20 years or more with basically zero maintenance, and of course, it creates zero hazardous waste. You fill that tank up during the day, and then gravity gives you water pressure 24/7, even when it's cloudy.
So how does this all work without just burning out the pump? Let's pop the hood and look inside the smart system. It really comes down to some clever tech that creates ridiculously simple reliability.
Okay, the absolute heart of the system is its brain, and that's the MPPT pump controller. This is critical. You can't just wire a solar panel straight to a pump, you destroy it. This little box is what makes the whole system sing.
So what is this brain actually doing all day? Well, first, it's using something called MPPT to constantly adjust and squeeze every last drop of power out of your panels as the sun's intensity changes. Second, it has a soft start function. So instead of slamming the motor with full power in the morning, it gently ramps it up to prevent wear and tear. And third, if a cloud passes over, it doesn't just shut off. Nope, it intelligently slows the pump down so you keep moving water even in low light.
Now, beyond that smart controller, the system really just relies on three other key pieces of hardware: the pump, the panels, and the sensors.
Let's talk about the pump first, because this is a huge deal. These systems use modern DC brushless motors, and they are an absolute game changer. They're about 20 to 30% more efficient than the old AC pumps. And that efficiency is huge because it means you need to buy fewer expensive solar panels to move the same amount of water. Plus, they come in different flavors: submersible ones for deep wells and surface models for ponds or rivers.
Now for the solar panels, there is a really vital rule of thumb. You have to oversize your array. You generally want about 1.5 times the wattage in panels as your pump's rating. So if you have a 300-watt pump, you'll want about 450 watts of solar. This extra power isn't a waste, it's what ensures your pump runs great even on hazy days or late in the afternoon, letting you collect as much water as possible.
And finally, the sensors. This is the part that truly lets you set it and forget it. There's a probe down in your well that will automatically shut the pump off if the water level gets too low, which protects it from burning out. And then there's a simple float switch in your storage tank that tells the controller, hey, we're full, so the pump stops. No overflows, no wasted energy. So now that we've seen all the components, let's talk about how you actually size one of these systems. To get it right, there are two and only two crucial numbers you absolutely have to know. It all boils down to two things. First, your total dynamic head, or TDH. Just think of that as the total vertical distance the pump has to lift the water, from its source all the way up to your tank. And second, your daily flow rate, which is simply how much water you actually need each day. Once you have those two numbers, you can pick the perfect pump for the job.
Okay, so let's get right down to the bottom line. Let's take a really balanced look at the pros, the cons, and of course the payback to see if a system like this is actually the right move for you.
The good stuff is, well, it's pretty fantastic. You're looking at zero fuel costs forever, incredibly low maintenance, and excellent longevity. Now the bad, really, they're more like trade-offs.
The system is sun-dependent, which is exactly why a large storage tank is so important. The initial cost for the pump and controller can be higher than a cheap AC pump, and yes, your flow rate's going to vary a bit as the sun moves across the sky.
But this is the number that changes everything. When you compare it to the endless cost of running a diesel generator, a direct drive system like this typically pays for itself in just 18 to 24 months. Think about that. After about 2 years, your water is effectively free, powered entirely by the sun. This really brings us to the whole idea of a battery-free revolution. Because this isn't just about some new hardware, it's a completely new way of thinking about off-grid systems, one where it turns out that simpler is almost always smarter.
You know, it's a perfect example of something called appropriate technology. And that's the idea of using sophisticated, high-tech tools like MPPT controllers and brushless motors to achieve a simple, incredibly reliable goal: just moving water, day after day with no fuss.
So, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. By eliminating the battery, the single component that is most likely to fail, cost you money, and cause you headaches, is this the smartest, most reliable investment you can make for your off-grid water needs? For many, many people, the answer is a resounding yes.